Going to chat Arsenal more. Don't worry about that, Arsenal fans. But just because we've got you here right now, Mark Ogden, let's get the United perspective today, because there were big questions about how they would fare without Casemiro. And we saw some really, really positive things once again from Manchester United, not least from Marcus Rashford.
We did. I think the Rashford is a positive. I think it can also be a bit of a negative as well, because, you know, we're talking about how Arsenal are going to cope with that Gabriel Jesus. I do worry how United cope with that Marcus Rashford. I do think they look like what they were today. They look like the third best team in the Premier League, and that is a positive and a negative, because I think there was a distance there between United and Arsenal today. And I think without Rashford, United don't really offer much. You know, you take Rashford out of the equation, Anthony isn't offering nothing. Weghorst is a different option, but hasn't got the pace to get away from the defender. You take Rashford out, what have they got to threaten teams? And that would be the concern for me, that if he doesn't perform, and he did perform today, so if he doesn't perform, where do United go? And also, you know, they couldn't win today with Rashford playing well. So, you know, obviously, we're talking about Casemiro missing again. I thought McTominay did fine. I thought Fred came on, did well. I thought Martin was outstanding at the back. But I do think that United have had a great season, considering where they were at the start of the season, where they were last season. But this game today showed that they are still a little bit adrift with the big teams, the top teams, because they haven't got enough depth. And up front is where they lack the depth. They need somebody else apart from Rashford, and I don't think they're going to get it this month. So they're stuck with Weghorst. Like I say, he offers something different. He works hard. He's better with his feet than people give him credit for. But, you know, he's not Harry Kane. He's not Erling Haaland, is he?
Yeah, there's something to be said about Manchester United and what they're doing so far under Erik Ten Hag, specifically when Ronaldo left the club. And, you know, Shaka said it earlier, United are so good on the counter now. They're learning the process under Ten Hag. And they gave Arsenal a good fight. Though statistically speaking, Shaka, when you look at the numbers, I mean, Arsenal almost 60% possession, 25 shots to like 7 of Manchester United. It was just a matter of finishing these chances. But you got to give credit to United, Shaka. How much more do you think, you know, in fairness to what Oggie's saying, how much more do you think they need to do in order to not just, you know, secure Europe, but Champions League and maybe the title once again?
Yeah, I'm with Oggie 100% in everything he said. Manchester United, let's be honest, the start of the season, if you're Mauricio Pochettino or his agent, you're kind of excited by how poorly Manchester United started under Ten Hag. And then everything just kind of came to a head with Ronaldo and that rather ridiculous, even more ridiculous now, Piers Morgan interview. And Ten Hag handled all those controversies incredibly well, to the point that I think the dressing room really started to buy into everything that he was selling. You couple that with Marcus Rashford being in the form of his career, coming back from the World Cup, and a United team playing with a sense of confidence. And I think this game summed it up. Yes, they were second best, and Oggie's right. Yes, they're third best in the league, but this is a far cry from the United that we'd seen. And if they continue to progress in this direction, it gives Manchester City and Arsenal, and if Chelsea are able to put things together and Liverpool somehow bounce back, it puts them back in a significant way in the conversations, to the point where right now, Oggie's right. You don't see Chelsea and Liverpool, even back at their best, surpassing them. So credit to Ten Hag, credit to Manchester United. They still have a way to go yet to catch these two, City and Arsenal, given the football that they're playing. But they are so far removed from how the season started.
Mark, before we do let you go, we're going to throw the conversation ahead because we must talk about Manchester City as well. Obviously, we saw that Erling Haaland hat-trick today against Wolves. These two sides we're all waiting to see play this season. Those two Premier League meetings are still to come. They're going to meet in the Cup first before that. What's your feeling? What's your gut telling you between these two teams come the end of the season?
I think City, I'm saying they got the greater depth, but I do think that Arsenal have built up such an advantage that I think that gives them a cushion. I think City have to win both games. I think they also play next game, haven't they? So City have to win both games, and Arsenal got even more points. Now we've got to the halfway stage of the season, 19 games, 50 points. So if Arsenal end up with 90 points, that'll probably win the league. So to me, that means they can drop 10 more points. So Arsenal have got a real cushion. City got it all to do. Now we've seen City in the past; they can go 17, 18 games, not without defeat, but win every game. And they have got that in them. But they haven't shown it this season. They've still got that ability. So that would be the big worry for Arsenal, that if City get on a run, Arsenal have to be as good as they've been for the first half of the season. But, Arsenal keep passing the test, like I say, and I don't see anybody other than City stopping Arsenal or beating Arsenal. So it really lies on those games. I think the first game of the Etihad, I think next month, that's a massive, massive game. City have to win that game. And if they win that game, that might chip away Arsenal's confidence. But I still think Arsenal favourites now. I think City got it all to do. I think City have to win 16, 17 games on the bounce.
Well, I'll tell you what, Oggy, I think we have to say goodbye to you because I feel like I think that's Rob Dawson in the background just going nuts about United. But we'll let you go, Oggy. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Make sure that you get home safe, buddy. Let's
Cheers, guys.
Exit out, sub out Mark Ogden and bring in somebody that's going to be very happy right now. There, look at him. He's already smiling.
Arsenal super fan.
Absolutely. Darren, I'm surprised you're not wearing your Arsenal shirt right now. How happy are you right now after that win against Manchester United?
Yeah, LME, you pointed out right away. I'm wearing the wrong gear, but who the hell cares? That was an outstanding game of football and a huge win, to say the least. I do want to let you guys know I'm sacrificing for you. To watch Arsenal without a beverage in hand and to try to stay sober through these games is not the easiest thing. But you guys have mentioned a couple times of how this match looked like it did, 20 years ago in the 90s, early 2000s. But what I kind of thought late in that game, it was on the 82nd, 83rd minute as I looked up. I used to always think Alex Ferguson's United teams, they were just going to win the game. They were going to find a way to win, and they almost always did. That's how I felt about Arsenal for the first time in a very long time. As I'm watching that game, I was like, I feel like they're just going to win. If they're at home, they're playing better, they're on the front foot, this incessant pressure. At some point, United's going to cave, and they're going to win this game. And to walk away with those 3 points was absolutely massive. And last but not least, I just saw this on the coverage that through 19 games, the Invincibles crew in 03-04 had 5 less points than this group does through 19 games. The pace they're on is pretty electric when you look at the history and where they've been, especially in recent years. So a lot to be excited about, to say the least, and I don't care what color my shirt is.
Oh, we don't either. It's just great to have you here. You know what? You mentioned the Invincibles, and I wanted to put this one to you, Shaka, because in all this talk, we've not even talked about Bukayo Saka today. He got his 8th of the season. He's only the 3rd Arsenal player to score in 3 successive Premier League games against Manchester United since Freddie Ljungberg and Thierry Henry. I mean, that's some company to be keeping, isn't it?
It really is, and you look at the goal that he scored, and it was an exceptional finish. I think there are questions about Christian Eriksen, but that's not doing Bukayo Saka enough justice, or certainly the goal enough justice. And Eriksen just sits off of Saka. And to be fair, if you're Eriksen, the last person, well, maybe again, there's quite a few candidates for this, but you don't want to catch yourself one-on-one Bukayo Saka, because he can just drift by you, but then you stand off of him. And what I think Saka does wonderfully well is use Eriksen as a little bit of a screen. So De Gea doesn't see the shot coming until very late. And that's a level of maturity. That's a level of understanding exactly where you are on the park that you don't associate with someone as new, and I'm saying this kindly, someone as new in the game as Bukayo Saka. That's Thierry Henry-esque. So I thought he did that wonderfully well. Knowing that Eriksen can't get close, he just shifts the ball into the right position to give David De Gea, leave him unsighted and able to react late. If I can just go back to something that Mark was talking about, and it's about City and about this title running. If Arsenal win their game in hand, it goes back to 8 points. And as much as you have City to come twice, at this point, even if City win those 2 games, that closes the gap to 2. But who beats Arsenal? And while you can say the exact same about City, and you saw City at their best against Wolves, City at their best, which we haven't seen for a very long time, who beats Arsenal? That was Arsenal, and as much as the score was 3-2, dominating against the 3rd best team in the league. We saw Arsenal in the North London derby. We wondered how they would fare. No problem at all. And to be honest, against arguably right now the 4th best team in the league, in Newcastle United, Arsenal dominated throughout. And even as a former Newcastle player, I'm like Dallin here. I thought it was only a matter of time, even that one, that Arsenal would score. held out. So now you look at how Arsenal have fared against the 3rd, 4th, and 5th best teams in the league, dominated throughout, and you can ask, even if they lose twice to City, who gets the better of them? And I'm not sure that there's anybody who you can, with any kind of conviction, say so. That's not to say that I think Arsenal win all the remaining games, but it's just to say that you're not quite sure where that stumbling block is going to come.
Shaka, very interesting this final comment from you, because we just so happen to have, aside from being a super Arsenal fan, super fan number one, Dallin Cuff is also our gambling expert. And last time you were here, Dallin, we were talking about the Premier League odds, and obviously it doesn't really favor so much the odds maker or the odds putter, I guess, if Arsenal keep on winning. But where is it smart money to put something now in Arsenal? Are there any other things that you're looking at from an odds perspective in the title race in the Premier League and anywhere else?
Well, actually, what Shaka just said is going to be critical to the odds, because if they don't win this game and that game is a draw and it's just a 6-point deficit, technically, from the odds maker's perspective, you can look at City and say, okay, City wins both games. They are now level on points. That changes the odds rather significantly. So I'm still waiting. I'm refreshing. We haven't seen them come out from Caesar Sportsbook, who we use here at ESPN. And I've looked at other books. So just to see where they reset the lines. But I imagine they'll be very similar to they were when we get into this weekend, which was Arsenal around -120 on a lot of books, and Man City around +120, +130, which is more than 1-to-1 your money. Arsenal right now is less than 1-to-1 your money. And we talked last week about really this cup game they're going to play this week is not going to affect the odds. What's going to affect the odds is just the table and the numbers as these games come forward. So right now, I would still wait. Like I said last week, I put +250 at Arsenal about in December that they were going to win this thing. That was good value, 2.5 times your money. Now you're down to less than 1-to-1. I would wait and see, because if City does win the game, it's going to the first match on the 15th of February. Those numbers are going to tighten up. They may even flip a little bit. Depends on the odds makers, because they've always had City as the favorite. That's who odds makers think are still going to win this thing if it gets tight. So I think you may actually see Arsenal go back to plus money if they lose that first match on the 15th. So I wouldn't put money on that right now. I think there is interesting money within the top 4 race between Spurs, Newcastle, and those guys, and that mix right there. I think you can look at those 2 or 3 teams and think there might be some value in those teams and who can hold on, who can get in the top 4. The last thing I thought was really strange, especially coming off that Chelsea-Liverpool game, and a couple of folks have mentioned it already, in contrast how poor that game was yesterday versus today, is Liverpool is still 2-to-1 to get into the top 4. That is a terrible bet to me. I don't understand how that's possible. With the way United's playing, as we just talked about, Newcastle and Spurs are in better position. For them to get in the top 4, the way they're in their form right now, I would never lay that money. So I know there's a lot of Reds fans on here. You may want that team to turn it around. That seems like an insane bet to me, and I don't understand the value. Compare that to Chelsea right now is 8-to-1 to get in the top 4. That makes more sense to me. That is a very long play that you shouldn't play either. So right now, as far as the title odds, I would wait and see again how things play out here. But the top 4 race remains interesting with United, Newcastle, and the crew that they're battling right now with Spurs.
You're getting 2 for 1 here right now.
Hello!
Yes! This is the first time Dan and I are meeting, so digitally, Dan.
On
it's
purpose.
a pleasure, my friend. But, well, I have been stalking you forever on Twitter, and it's not fair. So yes, on purpose. I know.
I tell you what, some behind the scenes here. Kay's got her shoes off. And man, these honk. Oh my goodness me. If it was a smell of it, should be in trouble.
I just got you wine gums today.
You to get me wine gums. So he found at Dalen Cuffs on, as he mentioned, he went to an Ivy League school. That's the first thing he said.
At least I'm repping the color. Dan loves to bring it up. Here you go. Where we at? There you go. Our basketball team sucks.
What were your thoughts today on the game?
Well, it was funny because Arsenal won, obviously, so that's even better for my bet with Stevie. And Lisandro Martinez scored, and Stevie says he's too short to play football, and he scored with his head. So it's just ammunition to fire yet again at Stevie, I reckon.
Yeah, just brilliant stuff as well that we saw. We're just talking the odds there, Dallin, and
he doesn't know what he's talking about the odds. Look at him. He doesn't know what's going on. He's
got to go and actually do his job.
Kay Murray, we cannot allow this again. It's Dan Troll Thomas,
We're
number
get
one.
when we can, haven't we?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.